and therefore will draw from quite a distance. And finally, the combined revenue projected to be generated from this newly renovated space will far exceed the prior levels. So the two tenants that are the intended occupants of the newly renovated space are Boot Barn and Primark. Boot Barn, as you may know, is currently in Gurnee Mills, near Bass Pro Shops, near Entry F, and has honestly been persistently waiting for quite a while for an expansion opportunity, particularly with an exterior entrance. So they'll, in this case, when they move, they'll have only an exterior entrance, no mall access. So Boot Barn, which in addition to the footwear that they're sort of known for, also offers Western apparel, home decor, and gifts, will essentially double its square footage, and they project that their sales will increase accordingly. So Boot Barn is located pretty broadly across the United States in 44 states, but in Illinois there are only 2 other locations besides ours, Crystal Lake and Springfield. So again, a regional draw. And at 44,000, a little over 44,000 square feet, Primark will be Gurnee Mills' newest anchor and a regional draw, as again, there are only 2 other locations in Illinois, State Street in Chicago and Woodfield Mall in Schaumburg, which just opened last fall. So Primark, founded in Dublin and still headquartered there, operates 400 stores in 15 countries around the world, but surprisingly only 24 of those are in the US. They do have very aggressive growth plans, but I think it's really notable that of the 24 US locations that they have right now, 12 of them are in Simon-owned malls. So that fact, that capture rate that Simon has with a retailer of this prominence, of this history, and of this trajectory, really, is just a good example of why we're very fortunate to have them as a corporate partner here in Gurnee. So in order to move forward with the build-out for Boot Barn and Primark, Gurnee Mills is requesting village assistance to fund a portion of the durable improvements, which, as you can see here, include demolition, storefronts, interior and exterior finishes, utilities, roofing, HVAC, fire alarms, sprinkler, other life safety improvements, professional services including architecture and engineering, and general project development and finance fees and costs. So of the $12 million budgeted for these improvements, the Mills is requesting that the village contribute 18% to a maximum of $2 million. So with Boot Barn currently operating and Bed Bath & Beyond fairly recently operating, those revenue streams were used to calculate our base of $200,000, which we retain annually and then rebate at 100% above that base for 6 years or until the maximum of $2 million is reached, whichever comes first. The agreement also calls for a completion date of December 31st, 2026, which would be the date by which any tenant must open. And I'm sure Randy and Jocelyn can tell us a lot about that construction timeline between getting us from point A to point B, and the details of what those plans entail. So with that, this item is ready for that discussion and your review.
Jocelyn, yeah. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you so much for having me, members of the board. My name is Jocelyn Gubler. I'm Vice President of Development for Simon Property Group. I've appeared before you at least once before that I remember, and thank you, Ellen, for that introduction. Ellen did a great job of giving an overview of what the proposed project is. To just add to what she said and provide a little clarity on timing, I want to actually, we just had our earnings call about 2 hours ago. Our chairman and CEO provided our fourth quarter 2023 earnings and 2024 guidance. And I wanted to talk a little bit about and use some of the quotes that he provided to our investors, because I think he really does have a great outlook on our industry. He absolutely has his finger on the pulse of what we're doing as a retail industry, and it sort of helps explain why things take the time they do, why they take the investment they do. And so one of the things he shared today with our board of directors and with our investors was that quality tenants take time. One of the things he pointed that sometimes maybe extends the timeline a little further than we would like is the inability to get permits We don't have that issue here. We have a wonderful, wonderful team here in Gurnee, and so that's not an issue for us. But what is an issue is just the amount of time it takes to bring these deals to fruition. We're very close to signing both of these leases. So the next step is really to prepare plans, which we've already started. We're hoping to submit our plans for permit in the next 30 days. And from there, it's about 6 months of work on our behalf, just the landlord, what we have to go in and do to prepare the space for these tenants to accept those. And then from there, each of them will have about another 6 to 8 month build time on top of that. So you're really looking at somewhere between 12 and 15 months before you'll see both of these tenants open. They may have longer commitments inside of their lease, but they both build with us. It's interesting that Ellen talked about the locations. I've built almost all of those. I've built 10 of the 12 Primarks within the Mills portfolio across the United States, and they typically get finished in about 7 months. That's right about what their term is. I also wanted to share a bit of my experience with that particular tenant, with whom I had no familiarity in 2018 when they came to another one of our properties. I figured they were another retailer. But the magnetism, but the draw that they have, and Ellen spoke a little bit about the regional draw that they have, is really important. Bricks and mortar has never been more valued and important in our communities than it is right now. E-commerce absolutely has a critical place, but what we've seen throughout a global pandemic is the value that people place on being together, coming together as a community, and what they like to do is dine, shop, be entertained. And this retailer really does provide that. It'll be one of the first to market. That's really important when you talk about creating that draw and that density, is being first to market and executing on that very well, hitting your timelines, hitting your deliverables, meeting expectations. We've worked with this particular retailer for many years now. We know their expectations, they know ours, and we work together as complementary as possible. So we're very, very excited about this. We're always happy to bring more retail to Gurnee Mills. We're in a unique position. We're limited in our supply. We were talking today about running out of space. So to have the space, to have the couple of opportunities that we have before us is pretty unique, and we're thrilled to have these first-to-market opportunities. Be happy to answer any questions. As you can tell, I'm very enthusiastic about it. I'm very passionate about bringing these kind of deals before you because I think they are very impactful to the community in terms of what they give back and in terms of what they bring to overall productivity.
Is there any questions to my right for Jocelyn? Yes. Trustee Carstensen? Yeah.
One quick question. I understand that Primark is a 30-year-old type of customer type of stuff. And will you know if you'll have an external entrance?
There will be both an interior on-mall and an exterior entry. And I want to, if I could clarify, I'm a little bit older than 20 to 30, but there's absolutely something in there for me as well. They have home furnishings, they have retail apparel, they have accessories. I very much, when I did the very first one back in 2018, when I did the very first one, I thought it was like Forever 21 or H&M, fast fashion, I think. It's very different. It's great quality. One of the things that impressed me a lot about this company is how they treat their employees. One of the things that they spend some of their money on is investing in a really quality area for their employees to take a break. I've had buildings that they've required I install windows. They said our team needs sunlight during the day, right? They shouldn't just be sitting in their cars. They shouldn't be sitting in the food court. We want them to have a nice, safe, dry place to be. So they're very thoughtful, too, about their employee base.
And I didn't say the 20 or 30 is something as a negative. I think that's how we find more attraction.
Sure.
Our brick and mortar malls.
Sure.
I'm excited about it. But I'm also excited about the external
Yeah, and it will be beautiful. I think Ellen picked a great representation there. They do a wonderful job. You're welcome.
Trustee O'Brien?
I just want to say I'm super excited to see Primark come here. I was at the opening day of Woodfield, and on Saturday I was shopping in a Primark in Spain.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I hope you didn't mind the lines. There can be some lines sometimes, but that's a good thing, right? We want people to queue up.
Mayor? Mayor? Interesting point. I want to see if Jocelyn could confirm. I believe that Primark requires you to collect your goods in person. I don't think that they accept online orders. You can pick your merchandise online and pick your size, but that it's a click and collect sort of situation where you pick it up in store. So I think that contributes to that foot traffic that we're always trying to encourage at Gurney Mills. Am I right on that?
You are absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. Yes.
I do.
Oh, yes.
What are the two, what's left next to the Hobby Lobby?
So next to Hobby Lobby, I'm glad you asked that question. Thank you. Right now under construction, there is a round one. We think of an elevated experience for entertainment. So it's not just a typical indoor amusement. It's an elevated experience with bowling and they have some arcade games, but that's not predominantly what it is. It's more of an entertainment center. They should open in August. And then the final piece, and I want to go back to something I said earlier, which is about supply and demand. The final piece is the piece that's, the furthest out where the TBA or the car portion of that site was. That's something that we haven't identified a final user for at this point. It's really good real estate in terms of visibility, in terms of what you see, what a prospective tenant might look for in space at Gurney Mills is, number one, visibility. They love that. So that's very coveted space. Number two, it's size. There's only so many users that can take that size, and it's about 35,000 feet still. So there's a limited number of users there. And we really want that to sort of be kind of a crown jewel at the end because of the end of that space. We've got Hobby Lobby, we'll have round one, and now we've got something that should be really kind of focal for the space and something that's a draw that you see when you come in. So we've yet to identify that user.
Okay, so that wouldn't have transferred to either of these then? It's too big a space for these two new?
It's actually too small. It's too small. This is a little bit larger than that, so it's too small for those two. Yeah.
Okay.
And the great thing about the existing space for these two users is it's pretty naturally configured for retail. The space that was formerly the Sears had an automotive shop in there that'll take a little more forethought, but Randy and I have been working on some ideas that we think would be great for food and beverage, entertainment. It's got some natural sort of outdoor qualities. And this particular box we can bring online quicker because of its natural layout for retail.
And there is still room in the Bed Bath & Beyond?
These two users
After
will take
these
the
two users?
entirety of it.
They will take the entirety of it?
They will.
Okay.
They will.
Because I was confused when it said building 3 or whatever in the pre-work, so, okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
They will take the entire, and actually they take a little bit of space that fronts on the mall. So the common mall as you walk, Primark will have an entry, as Ellen asked, that's about 200 lineal feet. So it's a pretty big, expansive entry into the mall.
Isn't it hard on the, not to have an entrance from the mall for the boot place?
It's different for different retailers. This particular user has determined that that's their highest and best use is to just have that external foot traffic, that they don't get as much cross-shop. We're thrilled to have it because the size that Primark needs to be doesn't fill the box, so it leaves us with space that otherwise would be left over, and a tenant that needs that cross-traffic or wants that cross-traffic more in their business model wouldn't necessarily look at that and consider it to be viable space for their business. So there's a limited set of users that will take exterior fronting only, but this is a great use. We think it'll still bring a great amount of traffic. They're in the mall currently at a much smaller size, so we think giving them this presence will really help drive sales.
Interesting, thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Garner?
I'm excited about the coming of Primark. I've spent a lot of time working in retail in my life, Bloomingdale's and Marshall Fields and such. So I know the value of quality retail and how it increases excitement in the community. It makes the mall more solid and increases traffic and as an endpoint revenue. So I'm very excited about Primark coming. Secondly, Boot Barn. I recently was in Houston, Texas, and I was really surprised. I stopped at a Boot Barn, and their stores are like 3 times the size of our stores.
Right.
And one of the things that impeded me from shopping in our store was it was so small, so tight, and crammed with merchandise. But the Boot Barns in Houston, Texas, are outstanding. So whether they have a exterior, interior interest, doesn't matter. Bring the bigger Boot Barn. I think it'll increase the excitement to be a great addition to the Gurnee Mall. So, welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
I'll get your quotables. You're looking for quotables. So I think the quotable is that Gurnee Mills has limited space left. Come get yours, right? Is that
Come
it?
get your space. That's
All
right.
right.
Before we
I'll remember
going,
that.
going, gone, before it runs out.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
So at this point, we need a motion to recommend. Oh, public comment? Okay. So if there's any public comment with regard to this particular issue, you could come up to the microphone and state your name. There being none, is there a motion to recommend?
So move.
Motion by Trustee Garner, second by Trustee Thorstensen. Roll call, please.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee O'Brien. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll start in 30 seconds.
Not a shop.
It'll be interesting to see how have just an external interest. Just an external.
Wow. You got to Disney. Okay.
All right, you guys ready to go?
That's probably
Go.
why they did it.
It's the Gurnee Village Board, regular meeting of February 5, 2024. Roll call, please.
Woodside. Ross. Garner.
Here.
O'Brien.
Present.
Balmas.
Present.
Thorstensen.
Yes, here.
5
You all stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance. All right, on to the first item, approval of consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Pat?
Item number 1, approval of ordinance 2024-12, setting forth the legislative finding and declaration pertaining to ordinance number 2003-43, approving annexation agreement and planned unit development agreement on the petition of Robert V. Rorman for property located at the northeast corner of Grand Avenue and Hutchins Road. Item number 2, approval of engineering division request to set a bid date of March 25th, 2024 for Route 21 water main replacement project, Grand Avenue north to Prairie Oak Road. Item number 3, approval of payroll for period ending January 26, 2024 in the amount of $983,656.14. Item number 4, approval of bills for period ending February 5th, 2024, in the amount of $432,998.49.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by trustee Ross, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas. Thorstenson.
Yes.
5 aye.
Motion carries. On to petitions and communications. The first one is approval of a proclamation designating February 2024 as Black History Month in the Village of Gurnee. Every February, the U.S. honors the contributions and sacrifices of African Americans who have helped shape this nation. Black History Month celebrates the rich cultural heritage, triumphs, and adversities that are indelible part of our country's history. This year's theme, African Americans in the Arts, is infused with African, Caribbean, and Black American lived experiences in the fields of visual and performing arts, literature, fashion, folklore, language, film, music, architecture, culinary, and other forms of cultural expressions. The African American influence has been paramount. African American artists have used art to preserve history and community as well as for empowerment. In 2024, we examine the varied history and life of African American arts and artisans. Now therefore, I, Thomas Hood, Mayor of Gurnee, do hereby proclaim February 2024 as Black History Month in the Village of Gurnee. I call upon the citizens of the Village of Gurnee to observe this month and encourage all to learn more about the rich heritage of Black and African Americans and their extraordinary contribution to our nation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee O'Brien. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
On to item number 2 is the approval of a proclamation designating February 11 to 17, 2024 as Future Business Leaders of America, Phi Beta Lambda, FBLA, PBL Week in the Village of Gurnee. I'll read the proclamation, and then I know we have a couple of FBLA students that you'd like to come up and talk, right? Yes, okay. So I'll do this first, and then you can come up and speak, okay? This week is recognized as Future Business Leaders of America Week by the National FBLA organization. Founded in 1925, FBLA is dedicated to preparing students for careers in business or business-related fields and encourages education through participation in its state and local chapters, which are based in secondary schools and universities. The national organization encourages its chapters to use this week to educate others about FBLA and recruit new membership. Warren Township High School has a local FBLA chapter, and the village chooses to help promote their education campaign through this proclamation. Now therefore, I, Thomas Hood, Mayor of Gurnee, do hereby proclaim the week of February 11 through 17, 2024 as Future Business Leaders of America Week in the Village of Gurnee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Ross, second by trustee Balmas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Would you ladies like to step up?
Yeah, thank you so much. So my name's Jonavi Coley, and I currently serve as Warren Township FBLA's chapter president, along with Illinois FBLA state president and the national secretary for this amazing organization. So FBLA, like Mayor Hood said, is an organization filled with over 180,000 future business leaders from across the world who really focus on not just business, but just preparing for their post-secondary journeys, whether that be through competitive events, community service, or just networking opportunities. I know personally I've made friends from California all the way to international places like Puerto Rico and Tanzania. So it's just an amazing opportunity, and I'm really thankful that our village is able to celebrate FBLA Week next week to really showcase all that this organization has to offer.
Hi, my name is Rohita. I'm also the local social media manager for FBLA. Going on what Jonavi said, FBLA is an amazing organization. Not only do we do business, but there's different career paths you can do within FBLA. You can take tests relating to healthcare and coding, and it's just a way to make new friends and learn experience doing different things. Thank you.
Thank you, very impressive. So it's Genevieve and Rohita, right? Okay, thank you. All right. The last item for petitions and communications is approval of a proclamation designating February 11, 2024 as 211 Day in the Village of Gurnee. All right. United Way of Lake County has been dedicated to serving children and families in our community for more than 100 years, and as a result, the critical service of 211 Lake County was launched on September 24th, 2019. We come together to celebrate and raise awareness for this vital resource that is free, open, and available for everyone in Gurnee and across Lake County. As a community, we recognize the importance of having access to information and support in times of need and acknowledge the significant impact that 211 has in improving the lives of individuals and families. Now, therefore, I, Thomas Hood, Mayor of Gurnee, do hereby proclaim February 11, 2024 as 211 Day in the Village of Gurnee and encourage everyone to become aware of the services provided by 211. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second by Trustee O'Brien, second by Trustee Garner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And thank you for the bags. Did you want to say something? Step right up.
Thank you again. My name is Quentin Snodgrass. I'm from United Way of Lake County. I want to thank you, Mayor Hood, and all the trustees for your continued support of 211. Like you said, this launched in 2019, just before COVID happened. We thought we were going to get a slow rollout to introduce this to the community, and it really went big. Since that time, we've now made over 250,000 connections for people to get assistance in Lake County. Gurnee is a heavy user of the service as well. First responders, police and fire, thank you for your service. And this is a service that we also hope to offer first responders, because out in the community, you see people every day. This is a service where it's anything from, I can't figure out how to pay my rent, or these prescriptions, or anything from that to childcare, to it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm a victim of domestic violence. There's me and two kids in the car, and that's all I've got. What do I do? So this is a service that is available for everyone, 24 hours a day. We're seeing more and more use of it as we go. We're hoping to hit 300,000 connections for help, honestly, in the next couple months. So everything is because of the support of communities like Gurnee and across all of Lake County. So thank you so much for all you do, and I would love to stay for a minute afterwards and get a picture with receipt. And I have a lovely 211 lapel pin for you, Mayor Hood, just like mine.
All
So
right.
thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you, Clinton. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the work you do with 211 too. On to reports. The first report is presentation by Finance Director Brian Gosnell, Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the period ending April 30th, 2023.
Yeah, so we could do this last Monday, but Brian wanted to build up some anticipation, so I'm not sure that's happened or not. But Brian's going to run us through the audit here, walk us through it. Again, pretty important document, lets us know our financial position. Typically, Brian and a rep from an auditing firm show up and walk through it, but just Brian tonight, and gonna go a little more detailed than we have in the past. So.
All right, thank you, Pat. Included in the material is the audit, should be the audit and the management letter. So we'll walk through the document, a little bit about the process, and then the document here. So just an overview, Lauterbach and Amon is our independent auditor. They've been so for 10 plus years. We have changed out the audit team in between that time. Last time we changed out the audit team was fiscal year 22, get a fresh set of eyes. Same firm, but a whole new team comes on site and the manager, so get a fresh set of eyes every once in a while. It's about a 6-month process, starts in May, goes through October. While the audit process is going on, you can see that process in the graphic. While the audit process is going on, there's concurrent processes that impact the publication of the final report. And that includes pension fund audits. Those are done by Eder Casella. Pension actuary reports that tells the village what we need to contribute. Lauterbach and Amon does those. GASB 6768, which calculates our total pension liability. It's also done by Lauterbach and Amon. And then GASB 75, which is our other post-employment benefits, or OPEB report, gives us that liability. Is done by Foster & Foster. So there's a ton of stuff going on by a lot of different people during the summer, and that all comes together with the final document. So the annual comprehensive financial report, there's a look at the cover and the inside page. Has a few sections, introductory section, the independent auditor's report, the management discussion and analysis, or MD&A, basic financial statements, which includes government-wide fund financial statements and notes to the financial statements, a couple supplementary information sections, and then the statistical information section at the end. We'll just walk through each one of these, let you know what's in them, highlight the financial pieces that are important in each one, help navigate the way through the document. First section, introductory section. On the left side of your screen is what that intro page looks like, and then just some excerpts from it on the right. I don't expect you to be able to read those, just give you an idea of what the pages look like inside that section. This section starts on page 1, includes principal officials, an organizational chart, a transmittal letter, which is prepared by staff, really kind of just a staff overview of highlights in financial environment, and the GFOA Certificate of Achievement, which we have received every year since 1995, I believe. Following that, on page 14 is the independent auditor's report. Here's where they express their opinion. We did receive a clean opinion this year. Also in this section, they lay out the responsibilities of management and the auditor. Management's responsibility is to provide accurate information to the auditors. The auditor's responsibility is to take that information, perform an audit, and obtain a reasonable assurance that the information is free of material misstatements. So that is kind of the roles of everybody involved in the process. Following that, on page 18 starts the management discussion and analysis, or MD&A. Another section prepared wholly by village staff here. Again, it's our perspective on the audited financial statements, gives a nice summary, talks about budget highlights, how to read the statements, what we're looking at from debt and economic factors that impacted the year. It gets into a little bit, just touches a little bit on the financials from the village-wide and the fund level analysis that you see later in the document. Following that is the basic financial statements, starting on page 31. First set is government-wide statements. This started way back in like 2004 with GASB 35. And the idea here was to match what kind of corporate statements look like. So take a look at the entity as a whole, take a look at all the long-term liabilities. So you'll see net pension liability in here, OPEB in here, capital asset valuations in here. All that will be included in the government-wide statements. The statement of net positions, more balance sheet type. Statement of activities, more income statement. Breaks it down by function. So there's general government, public safety, highways and streets, and then business type activities in there. Kind of the financial highlights of those statements, you look at net position. Village's net position increased $4.4 million to $158 million in fiscal year 23, with revenues of $72.8 and expenses of $68.4. That's on a government-wide look there, so across all funds. Following government-wide statements is the fund financial statements. This is a little more traditional statements, what we're used to seeing, much more of a near-term focus. So you're talking receivables and payables within that 90-day window at the end of the year. You get the balance sheet, shows assets, liabilities, fund balance breakdown, statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balance, commonly called income statement. Also in this one, and then some financial highlights from this. Across all government funds, cash was $48.5 million. General fund cash was $29.3. Ending general fund balance was $30.3. And you can see in there also in that schedule the $4.5 million transfer from the general fund that we did last year to water and sewer, capital, and then some to health insurance as well. So you'll see that breakdown in there. Difference between general fund cash and fund balance is just the difference between those near-term receivables and payables. That's the only difference there. So. Following that is notes to the financial statements. Much more detail that supports what's in the financial statements. So if you want to see a bunch of detailed schedules, this is the place to be. First note talks about accounting policies, the basis of reporting, what we use for our asset useful lives. The second note talks about budget information, basis of budgeting, how that interacts with the fund statements or the financial statements. Note 3 gives a bunch of information across all funds. Deposits and investments, interfund transfers, leases receivable, which was new last year, capital assets and long-term debt and liabilities, so you can get detailed information on all that in those notes to the financial statements. Finally, that kind of concludes with other information, talks about joint ventures, risk management, the retirement system, so police, fire, pension, IMRF, and then our OPEB or other post-employment benefits detailed in there. Next section, page 96, is required supplementary information. So again, a bunch of schedules in here. Talks about employer pension contributions. That's on page 98. You'll see that. It shows it for IMRF, police and fire. You'll note that the police and fire were overfunded. Police of $606,000 last year we talked about during the budget process, and fire by $250,000. That's fiscal year 23. This year those numbers are even higher. And it looks like that'll continue into fiscal year 25 as well. Funded ratios, when you get to pages 100 to 105, you'll see IMRF is right at 90% and police and fire right at 80. Also in here it talks about changes in net pension liability. So the long-term liability that we have with both police and fire, again, that's done by actuary. Also details historical pension investment returns and compares them to the policy, and more detail on the OPEB liability and how that changes from year to year. Also, there's some budget to actual statements in here, so it shows on a budgetary basis what the village's budget to actual performance was. Following that is other supplementary information. Here you see a few more statements. One I wanted to point out was on page 115, it has the general fund and then a health insurance fund split out. If you remember last year's budget, we created the health insurance fund to kind of isolate those expenses. This splits that out, shows it split out on one schedule there. It's rolled up in the fund financial statements. Also, it goes into detail on the non-major funds, has statements on those, and then pension trust funds individually and combined. Also, some more budgetary comparison schedules here, so a lot more budget to actual information on all funds now, not just the general fund, which was in the prior section. It gets into the statistical section. This is prepared by staff as well, shows 10 years, really, of financial trends starting on page 140, or on page 146, you'll see 10 years of fund balance history. Revenue capacity section talks about EAV, sales tax history, how that's performed over the last 10 years, and then there's a debt capacity section which talks about our ability to levy, how we are against that and outstanding debt. Of course, we don't have any outstanding debt except for the IEPA loan. This section specifically talks about bonded debt, so there's nothing in there for the village. Then there's a section on demographic and economic information, and then finally operating information at the end. Again, 10 years history on each one of those. Any questions on, I guess, the report before I get into the management letter?
Doesn't look like it, Brian.
All right. Also included in the material is the management letter. This is kind of the auditor's way to let the board know if they found anything. Happy to report they didn't find anything. They did have a couple current recommendations in there as far as future GASB pronouncements and what those are and when we should implement those. GASB 94, I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but one's about public-private and public-public partnerships that we don't have any. GASB 96 talks about subscription-based IT arrangements. I've already talked to our IT division here. That's going to take us a little bit of work to implement, so that'll be a big one for next year. Then accounting and changes in error correction, they talk about that in there, but again, that doesn't mean anything for the village. And then they're changing a little bit just the way we report compensated absences in the financial statements and the notes to the financial statements. We also have a section for prior recommendations, just noting that last year they recommended we implement GASB 87 on leases, which we did that, and then there was a note on, if you recall, the motor fuel tax had negative commingled cash. That was corrected this year. So, and that was it. Happy to take any questions.
Questions to my left. Isn't that what usually happens, Brian? No one by the time you get done? Yeah, you did a great job. Thank you.
All the excitement was in Brian.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, we want you to be excited about this. Everybody else doesn't have to be, but you need to be excited about it.
Thanks, Brian. You bet.
All right. So the next item is presentation by Bittersweet Golf General Manager Kathy Ralston, 2023 season recap and 2024 season preview. See, Kathy, you brought Brad with you, right? So, all right.
All right.
Is Brad bringing bad news? Is that it?
No.
He's good news.
Brad's going to guarantee
All right,
great golf weather this season. That's why
Oh,
he's
that's
here.
good. All right.
Yeah.
So, good evening. And thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and talk a little bit about some of our 2023 highlights as well as preview 2024. We had a great 2023. You have a full report in your board packets, I believe, but just to touch upon a few of the metrics, we hit 31,290 rounds, which was an all-time record. It surpassed even 2021, where our numbers were, I think, juiced a little bit by lingering COVID restrictions that year that curtailed other recreational activities. We had great weather overall. No exceptional month, but no awful month, which is always variable depending on the weather. Our expenditures were up a little bit, but our revenue growth of 20% over 2022 surpassed the expenditure growth in payroll and operating expenses. And the increases we experienced there were largely due to keeping pace with the volume, absorbing the minimum wage increase once again, and the continued inflationary pressures, which now seem to be abating somewhat. We continue to reinvest into the facility, improvements to the golf course, replacement of items that are aging out in the clubhouse and maintenance building, and upgrades that have both aesthetic and functional value. We also continue to emphasize community relations, extending Bittersweet beyond the golfing population. Families on the Fairway is always a highlight on our calendar, and this year the addition of Bonfire and Brews at the end of September was very well received and very well attended. Looking ahead to 2024, I just met today actually with our affiliated golf pro, Sean Joyce, who was at the PGA show in Orlando, and he came back brimming with confidence. You know, all the indicators for golf continue to be very, very positive. About a year ago, I think we were still all thinking maybe a recession would be imminent, but even that seems to be off the table according to a lot of the prognosticators. That bodes well for a good 2024, and as always, it comes back to the weather. We're projecting for our budget 28,000 rounds. I feel like that's a conservative number, but I'm confident we can do better, and we will be striving to surpass that no matter what Mother Nature throws our way. We will be absorbing another $1 increase in the minimum wage. We have one more year of that next year. In line with other courses in the area, we will walk up our rates a little bit this year, $2 increase on the weekends, and our non-senior weekday rate as well. We are holding the line on our senior rate, and our junior rate during the weekdays, Monday through Friday, has remained constant since before I've been at Bittersweet. We're trying to make sure the price tag is not a barrier to juniors coming into the game because they are the future. We've had a busy off season, getting ready for the 2024 season. Most exciting inside the facility is we have renovated our pro shop a little bit. Our customer service island, we've refaced, and we're getting a new countertop. And again, this is one of those improvements that has both functional and aesthetic value. It's going to look good, and it's going to streamline and declutter our space and allow for improved display of merchandise and so on. So, and as you noted, I did bring our superintendent, Brad Anderson, with me tonight, and he has some specific comments that he would like to make about what's been going on outside and in the maintenance area during the off-season.
May I bring some papers up?
So, of note, this winter off-season, We've employed 60 extra man-hours on our staff, so we have basically 2.5, or that's 1.5 extra men. And we were allocated that out of the record rounds and revenue that Kathy mentioned. And that's really had a really tremendous impact on the amount of work that we've been getting done. When the conditions are open and firm, where we don't have snow on the ground and we can get out on the golf course, we've been doing a lot of vegetation management. And that's really for the enhancement of our golf revenue potential because Village, as you know, Bittersweet has vegetation on both sides of the golf hole, and people lose their balls when they hit off into the invasive shrubbery and things. And so we're pushing a lot of that back. It's sort of like Jurassic Park. We're just moving it back.
Thank God. Push it all the way back, would you?
Yeah. And that's also good for the environment because a lot of that invasive material generates a lot of silt, which every time we get heavy rains, that ends up into the stormwater management system. So as we're reducing this invasive material with chainsaws and a lot of bulwark, it opens up the sunlight to get to the forest floor, and then native ground covers return, and that helps to stabilize the soils. So it's really good for the stormwater management system. When there's snow on the ground, then we turn our attention to indoor work. And as you look down the weeks there, week number 1 in column A, there's 17 weeks there total in the off season, and we're right at on the 9th week right now. And during those first 5 weeks, we had ideal weather for working outside. And then with the snow and the colder temperatures, we moved indoors, and our indoor work includes like decluttering and painting of equipment and painting of the shop. We've done a lot of upgrades in the shop this year. With that extra labor, we were able to paint all the walls and get rid of a lot of old junk that's just been on the shelves for years there, and we just never had time to deal with it. We also, under equipment care, we've hired a new mechanic, and we're getting our own grinders. We're not going to be sending our mowers out to be ground at another property. We're going to be doing all of that in-house. We should get back out again this week. We're going to get back into the tree work this week now that the snow's gone. So, also, there's a website there. If you look at the bullet points up there above the grid, it's bittersweetgreens.blogspot.com. So if you log on to that, you can follow our progress, because we put pictures up on there of all the work we're doing with captions. And so if you want to see what we're doing, you can just go on that website. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions to my right, to my left?
Thank you for not increasing the senior rate.
Just wanted to thank you for the mayor's golf benefit every year. That you guys do an awesome job for that. This will be my 3rd this year, so thank you, and probably add for the police and fire that you do an awesome job for theirs as well. So I'm sure they're thankful for all the help that you put together their grouping as well. So thanks for the great report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, no old business, on to new business. Approval of ordinance 2024-13, approving a redevelopment agreement 2024 between the Village of Gurnee and the Mall at Gurnee Mills LLC to renovate vacant tenant space, former Bed Bath & Beyond store. Pat?
Sure. So Ellen reviewed this during our public hearing at 6:40. So this is a former Bed Bath & Beyond space. I have an opportunity to move Primark into the majority of that space, about 44,000 square feet. The remaining 16,000 square feet would be occupied by Boot Barn, who's currently in the mall, who's looking for more space. So it works out great for both. Similar to our other agreements, we would protect our base. We have the numbers that Boot Barn and Bed Bath & Beyond are generating. We keep that. Anything beyond that is rebated back to the mills up to $2 million or 6 years, whatever comes first. The mills is investing approximately $12 million in this space. The village's contribution is about 18%. So Primark and the expanded Boot Barn will perform much better than Bed Bath & Beyond did. So it's a great win for the village. As Ellen highlighted, only a couple Primarks in the state of Illinois right now, so we're lucky to be able to have one come out to Gurney Mills Mall. The agreement's based off of prior agreements that we've approved in the past, use the same foundation, tweak 4 or 5 paragraphs in there that had the financial details. So you've seen that before. Attorney Winter's taken a look at it. Everything's in order, so it's ready for consideration.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by trustee Garner, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
5-0.
Motion carries. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Jocelyn. I really do appreciate our partnership. As I look around the country, I can't think of one that's better than the Mills, and really thinking that you don't have much space left is an amazing comment after what we saw a few years ago, thinking that we're going to have a bunch of empty malls. So we have anything but that. So, and we have you to thank. So thank you both. On to item 2, approval of Administration Department recommendation to award 2024 Resident and Business Community Survey Services to ETC Institute at a cost of $34,500. Pat?
Sure. So I'll give you a kind of a quick overview and let Austin fill in some details. So this really came out of the strategic plan. One of the initiatives is, just collecting more information from the residents and from the business community. A lot of the metrics that are built in there are based off of his survey. We conducted a survey a couple years ago in relation to developing the strategic plan, so this is continuing to build on that. So Austin did the legwork on this, and I'll let him provide some more detail.
Yeah, so there's really 2 leaders in the area of community surveys. It's the ETC Institute and POLCO. Really what they do from a functional standpoint is they gather public opinion and synthesize it into a report for management staff to look at. We could use this information to better serve the public, and that's the point of it. So specifically on the ETC Institute, as Pat mentioned, they provide a really good service, and one thing that they do is they try to gather a sample size representative of the population of Gurney, so it reflects the demographics, and that's the sample size that they use instead of going out and gathering the entire area or as much public opinion as they can. They say that they could replicate that with the statistical significance, and it really provides a more equitable way to do survey sampling and conducting surveys by capturing the demographics of the community. Also, once they gather these results for us, we could use it to benchmark against ourselves in the future. We could also use their data from other communities to benchmark against other communities. So it's really good there. And then they also provide a low cost, I'd say a lower cost than POLCO, approximately 20% cheaper. So they really do provide a good service, and they are a little bit cheaper in that regard. Ultimately, we used POLCO last time, and they provided some really good results for us for the strategic plan. But in terms of going with the leading competitor now, we could take those results and really compare the two and see which one provided us some greater engagement and better feedback. So Pat and I, we really like the ETC Institute and want to go with that. So.
Thank you, Austin. Are there any questions? To my right, to my left. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second by trustee Garner, second by trustee Thorstenson. Roll call, please.
Ross. Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
5-0.
Motion carries. There's public comment. If anybody would like to make a comment, please step up to the microphone and state your name. There being none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. All in favor, say aye.
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 We're adjourned.
Oh, they work. You just gotta get them going. You gotta heat it up.